Right, well today we're going to be looking at creating a map, a dungeon map for use for the first level of Dungeon Master. So here on the Dungeon Master Encyclopedia we have a list of the various maps that are available. So we'll be doing the first one, which is level 00. So if I just open that up, so this is the first map. So this is quite useful because although it's kind of just a boring line drawing, it does have all the items that can be found, the names of all the champions, where they sit in the map and so on, so it's quite useful. So in order to make this map, we're going to use something called tiled, which comes from here. You may have come across it before if you've done any kind of game development. It's usually used in 2D games to produce, kind of as you see on the background here, you've got tiles that you can create maps with, you can create levels with by just like putting pieces of a jigsaw together and making up the map. So if you haven't already got it, download Tile. There is a download page here, and we'll get started. So I'll flick it back to that map for the time being. Now of course I've already got it installed, so I wanted to go through the process of creating a map. This is quite complex. It may split into 2 videos. Let's see how it goes. The instructions I've written for myself here to show you how it's all done, not quite finished. When they're done, I will put this up on the GitHub so that you can refer back to the PDF as well as looking at what we're doing here. So the first step is to make a new project. So we'll create that, and of course it wants to put it obviously where it wants to put it, so we will choose somewhere more appropriate. So I've navigated to my tutorial folder here, and I'm going to call the project file just simply tutorial for these purposes. It doesn't really matter what you call it. Maybe you wanted to call it DM clone, whatever. I couldn't call it that because I've already used that in the past. So we save that. So here we've got tutorial. First thing to do is to create a new map. So hit the new map button here. Now these can be changed. We don't need to do anything with the first 3. The orientation, tile layer format, or the tile render order are all okay as they are. Now the ones that we do need to change is the width, height and the size of each tile. Now if we go back to the map here, you'll see that this one is 17 across by 18 down, but it doesn't have a border, and it's absolutely essential that we have a solid border of tiles round the map to stop crashes when we're walking next to the border and fall out of the world. So this one needs to be, if we make it 20 by 19. So if we go back to tiled, then obviously this one we would need to change the width there to 20 and the height there to 19. Now the width of each tile is 16 pixels, and I'll show you why I have chosen that in a moment. So we've got 16 by 16, 20 by 20 tiles there. And so when we're ready, we just click OK. So that gives us this grid here for the first layer. Now before we can do anything with it, we need a tile set, and this of course is one that I've already done, and I've placed the this file here is already on GitHub. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's bring PaintShop Pro in here. Right, so each of these tiles is a 16 pixels by 16 pixels. So this is just one simple PNG file. It's not got layers or anything, it's just a simple PNG file. Each of the 16 pixel blocks is separated by 1 pixel. The black that appears on here is actually transparent. It's because this is a very old painting program, PaintShop Pro 7. I think it's at least 20 years old, but it does a good job still. So this black area is transparent, but you'll see it's 3 rows by 32 tiles across. So that gives you all the tiles that you're going to need there. So let's get that out of the way. So we can now import this tile 16 by 16 PNG there. So we go new tile set, browse, just make sure I'm in the right box, Dungeon Clone, assets, tile tutorial. Yep. I've actually got it in, yeah, I'll put it in this one. That's it. Open. Now, the settings here is fine as regards to the 16 by 16, but remember I showed you that it's 1 pixel separated, so we need to compensate for that. So we've got a margin or spacing. Actually, no, we don't need the margin. That was a mistake I made last time. So we will take the margin off. Spacing, what it means by margin is do we have a 1 pixel margin around the border here? And we don't. So we've got separation, but we don't have a margin. Now that's quite important because I accidentally, because I wasn't watching what I was doing, I set the margin to 1 when I was doing a test run for this, and it screwed up the tile set, and it took ages to sort it out. So that's okay now. So no margin, 1 pixel spacing based on the tile set image. You can call it what you like. It's taken the name here from the 16 by 16 file name, so that's okay. We've got that one. Right, so very important is that you must click this embed in map here. So we want the name of our tile set based on tile set image. You find the tile set. 16 by 16 pixels is the tile width and height. 0 margin, 1 pixel spacing. Press OK, and the map appears in here. So this is the tile set that we'll be using. Now we don't need to set the magnification on this one because we've got the full tile things in here. This one you could change the magnification if you wanted to get a slightly better look at the individual tiles, and you can use the slider to find what you want. So the first one we're going to use is the first tile here in the layer. But before we do anything, we've got to start working out and changing these layers. So first job is to change the name by double clicking on it and make that one walls. That's all we need to do, just change its name. So these are the walls. We can add some other layers either now or later, but let's draw the first one in. So let's base it on the map that we were looking at online. That's not the one. Helps if I click the right button. There we go. Right, so first thing to do is to draw the outline all round the outside. So we're on the walls, the little eye here is open. We've selected the first one here, and it's just a simple matter of you can either draw with it, though you tend to fly off depending on how accurate your mouse skills are, so that we get a solid border all around the map here. The little rubber up here, this red rubber, will delete any that you've made a mistake on. So follow the map and complete the shape of the dungeon here. So I'll pause the video for a moment while I do that. Okay, so I've now finished doing the solid walls there. Let me just get the map up there. The next thing to do is to draw in any alcoves or altars. There are no alcoves, there is one altar, which is this one down here. So we'll choose the correct symbol for that and put that in just there. Next thing perhaps, no, let's leave it at that for the moment, because this is the only thing you can put on the walls. So the tiles that you can use on the walls are all the top ones here, which are the different shapes and combinations of alcoves. Then you've got an invisible wall, a removable wall. The staircases don't go on this layer, nor do the ceiling pits. So you can put alcoves or altars or fountains on this layer, and that's it. So we've done all that. So we'll just save this. So it wants to know what do we want to call it. I'll just make sure I'm in the tutorial file. Now, as I'm in a separate folder, I will call it the one that I want to, which is level 00, and it's a TMX. So we'll save that. So let's now have a look at this is an older one. Let me just put the new one that we have just created in there so you can see what exactly we've done. There it is. So we'll drop that in here. So what this does, the TMX file is basically an XML file. So this grid here is the represents the dungeon, and where there's a 1 is a solid wall, and where there's a 0 there's nothing, there's no tile, there's no wall there. So you can kind of trace out, using the zeros here, the pattern that we've already created. The stuff at the top here is sort of tells you about the tile set. Now, a mistake I made when I was testing this out, and I've actually documented this in the PDF, is that I clicked margin accidentally, and it had the word margin equals 1 just here, and the effect that had was to reduce the available tile count to 62, reduce the column count to 31, and it only displayed a proportion, about 2/3 of the tile set. So that's something you need to be aware of. So this shows you what we're doing is to create a map of tiles. Now obviously the altar here is down, this one here, look, 33, that's the tile for an altar. So it tells us that we've got an altar in that lower wall. So if we get that out of the way again, let's get that out of the way again. So this altar down here is the one that's coming up as 33 on the map, so you can see the principle. Now we're not using this tiled map as it is intended. Normally if you're writing a 2D game, you would put real tiles of the graphics that you're going to use, and then you would draw that map out using those graphics. These are here just as a kind of a representation. These are not used in the game. It's the data that we wanted to create. So we only need one more image layer, which is for floor decorations, which are these two here. That's the green slime and the puddles. So the next thing we're going to do is to create some more layers. So if you go to this one here, it says new layer, and then you've got a choice: tile, object, image, or group. So the one we want is a tile layer, and you can see it's come up with a kind of ready for you to change the name on there. So we'll call that floor decorations. Now, because obviously we need to code when we're writing our C# monogame code, we need to correspond with what the tiled output is in the TMX file. So I've allowed for this name as you see it here. So it's camel case with capital F floor, capital D decorations all joined together, and it's of tiled type layer. So that's the one that we're going to use. While we're at it, we need to produce some more layers, so we can get that done straight away. I'm just finding the list of layers that we require for this, and I'll show you that. As I say, it is in this document. Right, here we go. Let's slide that across. So these are the layers that we need. So we've got walls and floor decorations are, I've actually put them as image, that's incorrect. Let me change that. They are tile layers. Glad I spotted that before I publish this to GitHub. So these are tile layers, and the rest of them are object. So let's get that back out of the way. So we've got the floor decorations as a tile. So we want, next one is an object layer, and again it'll come up with that. And the first one is ceilings. There we go. Again, you don't need to do any more at this stage, so I'll pause the video while I just repeat and put in the object layers that we require, which you can do from the list that will be published. Right, so what I've done here is I've cheated and loaded in a level 00 TMX that I had previously created. So all the layers are here. So there is 2 tiled layers, and I think it's 10 object layers here. So let's explain to you what the significance of the object layers here. Let's start with, I think, doors, as that's the, no, let's do ceilings. So if I select the ceilings one and untick the eye there, now I've already put in a ceiling pit. Now there isn't really a ceiling pit in this dungeon. I put this in purely for test purposes. So if you select the object layer, make sure the eye is open, you can select a tile from here to represent what it is. So the ceiling tile is this, just increase the size of that. There we go. Is this one here? That's the ceiling tile. That's what it's designed for. So when you put it on, you get a different effect. You get this kind of, it wants you to click on it, which I've done. You can rotate, you can move it. We don't need to worry about that. Again, we're just using this as a source of data. Now the important thing about this is that you should name it. So I've called it CP for Ceiling Pit 01. You can use what you like. The name of these objects, with the exception of the mirrors where the champions live, is irrelevant. You can call it what you like, but we do need to give it some custom properties, and these are the custom properties. So what you do is, they're blank normally, is you click this plus button here, and then you can choose the data type of your property. String is, I think, the default, and then once you've selected that, you give it a name and then you press OK. So I'll cancel that because I've already done them. So you can see we've actually got 2 properties. Now, although these are numbers in here, they are actually string type, because this won't accept, just check whether I did that as, No, it doesn't say. I think it's string. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but we definitely need string for the from coordinate. Now I've put -1, -1 and -1 because obviously we don't have or will not have a level above us. We will be going down into the dungeon. This was only for test purposes, so by setting everything to -1 in the code, this will kind of ignore the fact that there's a ceiling pit above us. As I say, it was just for experimental purposes. So that's the only thing that goes in ceilings is ceiling pits, and then you can close the eye again to get rid of it. Now doors is obviously an important one, so let's click on doors and open the thing here. So we've got 3 doors. Let's start with door 03. So again, give it a name. I've called this one door 03, and you want these 6 custom properties. It's a bit of a pain having to manually, I've tried to maybe do some kind of template, but I haven't managed to get that working. So unfortunately, every time you add a door, you need to add these 6 properties. They must be exactly as you see them here. They're string, first 3, 2 booleans and a float. The only difference between these is when the XML file is created. If I now open that, reload that, is that if I go back to the one which I had set up a long time ago, if you have a property as a string, it is put in quotes, like value here, look, is -1, -1. So again, yes, look, the from level is -1, -1. But if you put it as an integer or a float, I was going to say it doesn't put it in quotes, but looking at this, that is in quotes, this float value here. So actually, no, it probably doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. Just put them all as string. Even the boolean look is true, so I suppose it writes it in for you. So yeah, with boolean do choose value, but it's still written out as a string. But I thought that floats and ints were put in here without the quotation marks, but that's obviously not the case, so it doesn't matter. So we need these properties. So what do they mean? Well, the control, this is a door, so what kind of control is there? Again, in my tutorial I've put a list of possible control types. So let me find where we are on doors. Here we go. So the control types on doors can be button, remote or key. Don't put all 3 in, it's one of those. So it'll either be a door button, or it'll be a door key, or there'll be some kind of remote way of opening the door. Usually it's either a pressure plate or a keyhole on an adjacent wall or something like that. Now the control location, if you've got a button on the door, you leave it blank. But you could have, for example, if it was at the neighbouring square, you would put the coordinates of that in there, the XY coordinates of the map. If you put -1, -1, that means that it would ignore that, and it would have to be hard coded into the, so I've not actually used that, but I've left it there as a possibility. So -1, -1 would indicate to the code that there is somewhere there is a specific code to run that. Otherwise you put the X and Y coordinates of the map in with this X, Y, way of doing it. So I'll show you another door in a minute which has got that in it. So this particular door, there's also 3 types of frame. You've got a plain frame, a frame with a button on it, and a frame with a keyhole on it. So you just choose either frame button or frame key. As I say, it's in the tutorial leaflet there. Is breakable. There's only one door that I think is breakable that I know of, so I had to put it in there. So you would toggle that. Mostly that is off. It is not going to be breakable. You can't bash it down by hammering on it. Toggled means that it can go up and down. So for example, the first door grate here, which in fact I shall select now, this one is toggled, is off. That means once that gate has opened, it stays open. You can't close it again. The control is remote because we're actually going to put a pressure plate in front of it, and the location of that pressure plate is 7 squares along, which is here, and 9 down, which is here. So we're using the same coordinates for the map as we do for the drawing principle, that it starts at the top left. So we're using a similar coordinate scheme there. So that's where that's going. So we've got remote, frame, those two are unticked. Now the open state is a float between 0 and 1. So 0 is open, 1 is closed. So if you wanted to have a door set at halfway, which I have seen, I think, somewhere in the Dungeon Master as a kind of a half open door, you can set that to 0.5 or whatever you wanted, and it would be at that proportion open. So that's doors. So this is just to give you a guide on how we're setting up these objects. I'm not going to go through them all at this stage because it's easier to read about them, but I will just briefly click on a few just so you can see what we're doing. So let's close down the doors one. Now wall decorations uses this 4-bar thing here, and if I click on this one, for example, you'll see that there's an east, north, south and west one, and then you simply write in the name of the item that is on that wall. So this one's got a wall hook on the west wall. So this is the north wall, east, south and west. So the west wall, which is red, has a wall hook on it. Similarly on here, the east wall's got a wall hook just here. I'm just checking whether I've got something that's got multiple things on it. Don't think I have. No, they're all fairly straightforward there. Okay, let's go similar principle now for the wall actuators. Now these are mainly sconces which hold a torch. Again, east, north, south and west. Sconce T means it's got a torch in it. Sconce E means it's empty. If it's got a torch in, you put the brightness value of the torch as an integer between 0 and 7. Fireball, that tells you that on the east you've got a poison emitter or a launcher, whatever you call it. This one has got a fireball, so if you land in here you get fireballs thrown at you from one side and poison from the other. I suppose I really ought to rename that to poison, but it doesn't really matter. So custom properties of east, north, south and west are very commonly used here. Champions, let me just undo those. So these are the mirrors that are put in from the tiled grid here. So you plonk in a mirror when you have selected the champions thing, and again it's asking you to edit them. The only thing we need to do here, there's no custom properties, is to make sure that the name is C00 for the first one, and C01 and so on until you get to C23, I think it is. There's 24 champions, so C23 is here. That's all you need in here, is just that in the name to give it a number between C00 and C23. That again is important for the hard coding in the game. Not ideal, but that's the way it's working at the moment. Stairs, there's only one staircase down, so you just pick the stairs from here that suit the correct direction. So you've got up in 4 directions and down in 4 directions. So this one is going down from this one here to the west, so that's west down. If I click on it again, this time we do need 2 properties: target cell and the target level. So this will go down to level 01 because this is level 00, so the one below is 01, and it will appear on the grid reference 415. I'm just thinking I may have made a small error with the coordinates there, because 415 1 2 3 4, it might be that the map, I know the map's much bigger, but anyway, I shall make sure I get that right in the write-ups to make sure whether we are using the same 0 coordinates as we would do for the drawing, or whether I'm using a more conventional map coordinates. It might be that I'm using the more conventional map coordinates, but anyway, I shall check that out. So that's stairs, and then we've got wall writing. I'll show you that. So this one up here is the one that says Hall of Champions. So again, you've got east, north, south and west. This one says writing champions. This one was my test one, so it's all on the north face, and the multiple lines have been separated by semicolons. So this is line 1, this is line 2, this is line 3, and this is line 4. That's what you may remember seeing on the wall when this one was being demonstrated. This one should say Altar of Vi, or Vi Altar of Rebirth, on the west wall. So you get the idea. Most of these have got these east, north, south, west ones. Alcove items. Yep, there's only one alcove, which is this one here. Let's just make sure that one is open. So we'll click on that. So on the north face here, we've got the alcove, and inside it there is a scroll : text equals new lives / for old bones. The slash there makes it go on to 2 lines when you read the scroll. But you could also put semicolon apple if you wanted to put something else in the alcove. So you can put as many items in as you wish. Let's check out floor actuators. That's the ones that you stand on to move things. Now the door actuator here is right in front of the great door. So let's put the door one back on again. Yep, so this is the door and that's the actuator. So if I click on the actuator, so its target is 6-9, and the door itself said its control location was 7-9. So it's still not helping me, because yes, that is 6-9 and that is 7-9. Let me just see whether that's 9 from the top. 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah, looks like it's coming from the top. I'm just going to count the bottom. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Yeah, that's fine. So we're using the same coordinate system as the drawing, so it's 0 0 is up here. So this floor actuator target is whatever object is on 6,9, and 6,9 is the door, and its control location is 7,9, which is the floor actuator here, and then the code will compensate for making that all work. So that's the floor actuators. I think we've only got one more to go, which is the floor items. Now these are slightly different. Let's just tick that one and close that one. So if I click on this one has, instead of north, south, east and west, it has northeast, northwest, southeast and southwest. It's kind of represented by the coloured dots in the middle of the thing here. So you may remember when we first came through the dungeon, picked up a character, and we went through, trod on the plate, through the door, there was an apple sitting in where the red square is. So northwest is an apple. If I'd wanted something in the north east, I could have put something there as well, but you would have picked up the northeast one first before picking up the northwest. So the position of the items on the floor is controlled by this northeast, northwest, southeast or southwest. You can put multiple things in one position, they just draw on top of each other. I don't think I've got multiple objects. I also have this one here. So this one has got 2 items. On the southeast it's got a scroll with text equals invoke full for a magic torch, and southwest has got a water skin with 3 charges in, so the colon 3. This is a lot to take in, so sorry about that, but I'm just trying to show you how we can create a map, and by studying them when you're ready to create your own, you'll be able to do it. So I think that will do for kind of this tutorial. Remember to save whenever you make any changes. I'll just get that out of the way, and the full TMX file here shows everything that's in there. So we've got the walls here. This is the floor decorations. So you've got a slime here at 53, a slime here, and a water here at 54. Everything else is an object layer, and so we're using the properties here. So for example, here's our door tag. So we've got door 03, which has a button control. There is no control, the value is 0, there's nothing in there. Frame is a frame button. Breakable, no. Is it toggled? True, so you can open and close that one, and its current open state is 1, in other words it is closed. So that shows you how we can interpret this. It's an XML file. The fact that it's called TMX is irrelevant. It's great because it means we can just make alterations in our tiled application, save it, and it's all ready to reload into the game, and the adjustments show up straight away. So I think that will do for today. If I need to kind of add some more tiled stuff, I'll do a second video, but I'll see how we go.